Everybody, the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious. Today's episode, we've got Discovery right behind me here doing a flip-flop belly inspection at the International Space Station 17 years ago. We're going to talk about STS-114 returning America to flight after the 29-month delay after the Columbia disaster. We got two astronaut birthdays also to talk about today. So, got Marty Winkle, my co-producer here in our Streamlab studio inside the American Space Museum. We're just 9 miles away from where they're going to roll out the Artemis SLS rocket and fire it off, hopefully August 29th. And we're looking forward to a big crowd coming here at the Space Coast. But I love looking at this beautiful picture of the engines there, the SSME engines. Of course, they're worthless up there in space because there's no fuel tank to fuel them there. But that was Marty Winkle's baby as Space Launch Systems manager of about 40 people in the computer part of those engines. And when I asked Marty earlier if his department had any, once this shuttle was grounded, when it landed, I think August 5th, maybe August 9th. I can look that up in a minute on my scroll here. I asked about the morale there, and Marty said they're working so far into the future with other missions that they were busy all the time, even during that 1 year delay from this mission. A lot of people don't realize that. 114 flew on this date, July 26, 2005, and then the fleet was grounded because ET external tank foam kept dropping off, and there are some gap fillers protruding. The gap fillers are spacing between the underbelly shuttle tile, and that necessitated a spacewalk we'll talk about here in a few minutes. So the shuttle was grounded after this mission until July 4th when STS-121, that ended up being next shuttle in line, flew a successful mission in 2006. So they went from 114 to 121 in the sequence of the shuttles. And that just is how they have to number them and keep them that way for everybody working on them to keep their job straight. And got my JAXA fan here celebrating the STS-14 in Sochi. Noguchi was on that flight, Japanese space hero. And if you're worried about the dog days of summer and staying hot, check out yesterday's episode where we talked about the dog days of summer on our Backyard Astronomy Monday segment as Star Curious on Stay Curious. And tomorrow, you're not going to want to miss a special show with John David Bartow and the crew of STS-51F. There they are. I didn't make a picture of them, but 51F, an early 1985 shuttle mission. And Bartow is right here. That's Mr. Bartow there. And like me over the decades, he's grayed up a little bit, but looks great. And we're thankful for Mikey Haddad, payload specialist, for efforting astronaut John David Bartow to be here with another scientist. I forgot to write his name down. That were the scientists on this mission. Actually, 4 scientists flying on this mission of 7. A pioneering flight that we'll talk about, headed by astronaut Gordon Fullerton and Roy Bridges. That was Roy Bridges' one and only flight as a pilot. Of course, he would have been a commander had it not been for the Challenger explosion. And he later becomes center director at Kennedy Space Center, Roy Bridges did. So we'll looking forward to talking to John David Bartow tomorrow about STS-51F. That was also the Cola Wars flight, and see what he has to say about that. But we do want to give our little sales pitch here that we are closed. You can buy these beautiful shirts, and some of you have been. Thank you very much for your recent orders. And Cindy Rossi, thank you. She got one of each. Cynthia Rossi did. Thank you. That adds up to $72 plus tax and shipping to buy all 3 shirts. So we're anxious. They're at the printer right now. Separations have been made, and we know once I'm wearing one, and maybe I'll get Marty around here to wear one. We'll have Trekkie Techie definitely wear one for you. Jessica Galloway, who got us out of a little jam about 15 minutes ago. We had a computer glitch. So we'll be showing these off. We're closed. This helps defray some of the cash flow that we're missing out from our gift shop, as well as admission fees. It's only $10 to come here to our museum, $8 for veterans and senior citizens. Kids under 12 are free. So those are 13 to 17, $5. And we are seeing a lot of Florida vacationers coming around here. And can't wait to reopen August 8th. And this is Mr. Chris Calley and his father, Paul, who passed away 12 years ago. One of the first artists allowed on the property back in 1963. There's where you put your QR code on your smartphone to order the shirts. Talking to Chris Calley yesterday, he's really jazzed up to support the museum this way, and he loves our museum, and he lives up in Connecticut, and when he comes, we did a great show with him, talking about him and his father back in, when was that, Marty? Beginning of July or in June, when they had the Astronaut Hall of Fame that the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation puts on. So, all right, we've got a couple birthdays today. There's Chris, wanted to show off that handsome guy there. He's actually at the Sotheby's auction, and that is the circuit breaker that Buzz Aldrin had for sale, and the pen that he stuck in the circuit breaker to activate the launch sequence for the Eagle Ascent module. But we've got a couple. There's another artwork of Chris's. You can go to Cali Space Art, and I believe it's about $60 to buy a reproduction of that. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's what it is. That is a photograph by Mark Usiak, our friend of our museum. Couple birthdays, Marty. We got Bill Shepard, is 72 years old, and there's him in a Soyuz outfit. And there is Bill MacArthur, okay? Two Bills today. There's Bill's other picture. He's an Army guy, West Point graduate. And we'll talk about Bill Shepard first. It's very ironic. Two astronauts with the name Bill have almost an identical career. Each of them had 3 space shuttle missions, and then their last mission was aboard a Soyuz spacecraft to go to the International Space Station, where both Shepard and MacArthur were commanders. In fact, Bill Shepard was our first commander on Expedition 1, okay, back in the year 2000. William McMichael Shepard was born in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. He's an of course, July 26, 1949. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, an expert in underwater demolition, and his 4 space flights total 160 days in space. And he's a mechanical engineer, also with a degree from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he received the Congressional Space Medal of Honor. He was the commander of the first crew on the International Space Station. Sergei Kirkorov and another Russian was with him on that crew thing. So happy birthday to Bill Shepard, age 72. There he is wearing the Russian spacesuit. Put your name, and he is Shepherd, unlike Alan Shepard, Shepard. So you got to watch that when you Google these guys. And there is William Surlis Bill MacArthur Jr. was born in Laurinburg, North Carolina, but he grew up in Wakulla, North Carolina, born in 1951, so he is 71 years old today. 4 space flights, 224 days in space. Spent a little longer duration on the International Space Station on Expedition 12 or 13, I think he was. And Bill also went to the Mir space station, so that's kind of cool, going to 2 space stations, the Mir and the ISS. Of course, our Russian partnership is very important. Marty, in the news today, was telling me that Russia's backing out of our International Space Station. So without any politics, we'll see how that works out, okay, for them there. So happy birthday, Bill Shepard, 72, Bill MacArthur, 71. Both these men are, actually, I'm sorry, Bill Shepard, 73, born in 49. Yeah, he's 73. And born in 51, MacArthur, 71. Don't have all my props here because we haven't moved everything into our studio where the carpet's down now. One of our first rooms done. Thank you so much for the crew that did this. I said we had an astronaut coming in the house tomorrow, so we want John David Bartow to be in our studio and have it put together pretty good. So that will happen. And we also want to thank watching today Phil Bird. Thank you for watching. Phil is a podcast producer and a really good one. Bonnie Smitty was watching. That is your cousin, right? Niece, your niece, the Smitties. Bonnie, thank you for watching. Are they traveling around still, Marty?
I don't think so. I think they're back in Jersey.
Back in Jersey now. Okay, but thank you for watching, Bonnie Smitty. Michael Jasker, Cyril Villa, John Borelli, Mandy Murphy McCall, and Dave Stange. Thank you all for chiming in. They liked a couple pictures we posted on Facebook today. But we're here to celebrate STS-114, and of course, Orbiter Discovery led the way time and time again. It blasted off Kennedy Space Center on 39B at 10:39 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on 2005. And Eileen Collins commanding 6 other astronauts returning America to space after the Columbia disaster 29 months earlier. And I love this picture, Marty, and I didn't know who the photographer was. And then I looked down at the bottom corner over here, and it says Carlton Bailey. So, hey, Carlton, glad you're feeling better. I called him up and says, about to rip off another photographer's work, but it's your work, so we can give you credit for it. Nice little sequence there of the liftoff of the bird. And right at about this picture here, the third picture, something happened that, well, look over here. You got a couple birds in the first 2 segments there. And those are turkey vultures. And one of them comes into play. We'll tell you about that in just a second. But there's the walkout photograph. That is a giant poster we have at the American Space Museum. There you see to the left of it a used shuttle tire off the nose gear. And to the right of it is the shuttle gallery cases there that have, they've got some of the tile in there and pieces of external EVA elbows and things like that in there to check out. So, but we're very proud to always display this. Eileen Collins there leading out James Kelly, Vegas Kelly. This was his second and last flight. We mentioned that Soji Noguchi was on board, a Japanese astronaut. His first of 3. He's still an active astronaut. Stephen Robinson, his third of 4 space flights. Charles Camardia is in there, his only space flight. And Andy Thomas and Wendy Lawrence are bringing up the rear there. And Andy Thomas, it was each of theirs 4th and last space flight. And I didn't check if Andy and Wendy flew together. I'll do that later to talk about later in the week maybe. But their 4th and last flight, so they had a lot to compare, I'm sure, going up and down on this space flight. And Marty, what I like about the return to flight, as this was called, is they just didn't do a tentative return to flight, okay, with 4 crew members just to check out the bird and make sure the new techniques for inspecting the shuttle tile and wings was going to go right. They did a full-blown mission, Marty, with 7 astronauts, Japan being involved in it, means that they're just returning to business as normal, all right? Our partners, Japan, very important to our American space program and their Kibo Observatory that we took up for them. And that's the only experimental module up there. It's got a porch to it that they can put things in and out on sort of set them out there in outer space and and have them be exposed to the harshness of space and then bring them back in. So they went with gusto on this. They wanted to check out the new 50-foot extension attached to the Canada arm. That extension had on it a orbiter boom sensor system that was a photographic system. It looked over every square inch of the bottom of the orbiter. In fact, it was kind of a tedious job to do that, wasn't it, Marty? It took hours to do that. But they wanted to make sure there was nothing compromising the integrity of that reentry system, like the hole that was punched into the wing of the Columbia on its ascent, and that was punched in by a piece of foam that was only about 1.5 pounds in weight, but when it hit that wing, it had the force of this was 500 pounds and poked a hole in it. They scanned the edges of the wings, the nose cap, and crew compartment for damage, as well as other areas, and it had a video taken to inspect later. They took up, and there's the beautiful patch, the whole world there at night, all right, showing the mission there, the red and colored of the streamer of the exhaust of the SSMEs, kind of show you the colorization of the journey of the year to go back to space. Noguchi's got the red sun there for Japan. And Steve Robinson did an EVA that we'll talk about here in a minute, a spacewalk. By the way, also in that patch, you notice the 7 stars in the space shuttle depicting their fallen heroes of Columbia. The only shuttle patch that has the orbit vector going around it. And it's rather a large patch because of that orbiting vector. And we are proud at the American Space Museum, the only place in the world where you can put your handprints on Eileen Collins, the world's first pilot of a spacecraft, and then she's the world's first commander of a spacecraft. Out of the 69 women who've been to space, only 4 of them are Russian, okay? And think about that. About 50 of them are American. And then you got the Chinese. There's 3 Chinese ladies and some other nationality sprinkled in there that Russia took up, or America. But there's Eileen Collins' handprints. Mine are off to the left there. I've met her many times. She's a very wonderful, humble person. And her nickname was Mom, according to Triple T, the closeout crew, Travis Thompson. They called her Mom because she kind of mothered everybody. But twice she was pilot, twice a commander. STS-114 that launched this month, a few days ago in July, was her first command. And who's the other commander, Marty? A female commander of a spaceship.
Pam.
That's right, Pam Melroy, who is the Assistant Deputy Director of NASA behind Mr. Bill Nelson. So the crew conducted 3 spacewalks while at the space station. And there is the ascent to orbit. And Discovery landed August 9th, 2005. Poor weather hampered the shuttle from landing at KSC. Analysis of launch footage showed debris separating from the external tank during ascent. This was a particular concern. And then they had a gap filler protrusion that you're going to see in a minute. So they postponed future flights pending additional modifications to flight hardware. And like I said, basically after this mission, they were grounded for a year until July 4th, 2006, when STS-121 took off on a hard hat mission to the space station. So, but look at there, Marty, to the far left. That's a plane, a bird. Yeah, no, it's not Superman. That's a bird. All right. And that's just not a bird. That's a turkey vulture that, kabam, bounced off the ET nose. All right. There you see its impact. For the life of me, I don't know why they printed this picture horizontal, Marty, but I was going to flip it, but because the words are written there. But yes, we're at a wildlife preserve, okay? There's only 310 species, according to latest estimates. bird counts of birds on the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge that Kennedy Space Center is on. 3 to 5 pounds are these turkey vultures, so that hitting and bouncing off the external tank could have shed some of this debris they're talking about. So, of course, NASA's going to be proactive, though this was pretty much an anomaly, and they never saw birds hit a shuttle again. But what if it had hit the windows? All right, Marty, what if it had hit the wing? You know, it was heavier than the piece of foam that punched a hole in Columbia. So, of course, NASA's going to be proactive, and they came up with, you got it, the Aircraft Bird Strike Avoidance Radar. And there it is, a radar system geared to gauge any bird strikes, okay? Now, what would they do on the radar if they saw it? I don't know, because it'd be too late. As you all know, when that shuttle clears the tower, it's already going 100 miles an hour in about 2.5 seconds, right, Marty? We'll dig into this a little bit more, and maybe Triple T can shed some light on that when we do Tales from the White Room this Friday. But 114 started off a little auspicious with the bird strike, and then Eileen Collins also did for the first time a maneuver that had never been done by a shuttle approaching the International Space Station or even the Mir Space Station. It did a complete flip over. So not only did they inspect the space shuttle with a new boom that would go underneath a robotic arm, but they also had the crew of the International Space Station take pictures of it to make sure nothing looked out of the ordinary. This beautiful picture, Marty, is taken over Switzerland, all right? So I gather that's probably Lake Lucerne, one of those bodies of water there, maybe the small body of water. I'm not up on my Jeopardy geography there to know exactly what body of water it is, but the cut line did say that was over Switzerland. And there, again, a maneuver that Collins was the first commander to do this, inspecting those rear engines. All right, a nice sight there. That's what Marty worked with as a computer manager on the Space Launch Systems. They were concerned about those SSME, Space Shuttle main engines. That's the preferred nomenclature, SSME, not RS-25, which is kind of a production tag of them, of Rocketdyne and Rockwell. But here's what they saw was from the International Space Station was this gap filler protruding, okay? There it is, and then the close-ups of it. This gap filler is about not even a half-inch thick, and it's about the size of this piece of paper here, like this, maybe a little smaller. There's one there. It sort of looks like felt in a way, all right? And the astronaut, that when they pondered about this, now why would that bother anything? Because you think that it would just burn up on reentry. Well, how it burns up on reentry, and because it's protruding out on the airflow before it burns up, could alter the dynamics of this 20-ton spacecraft, believe it or not. Any little thing in the void of space, when you're reentering the atmosphere, boy, everything is really touchy. In fact, what a shot of the nose cone there. And I've talked to people that was their job for about 6 months to polish this nose cone to a certain parameter of size to make it exactly the way they wanted it for reentry. So they decided, we're going to have to go out there and grab those gap fillers. So Steve Lawrence went out there on an EVA. Here's a picture of Steve. And he went out there, did the EVA, all right, pulled them out. He had a pair of tweezers type of thing on his gloved hands. But we heard this story from Terry White, our Space Shuttle Orbital Process Facility Manager. Terry White is going to be on once a month. He on the third Wednesday of the month we're going to have third Wednesday of the month we're going to have Terry on. next August, and we might have him on beforehand. But he talked about the gap filler being protruding out there, and he was consulted a little bit and on that, and he says, yeah, you probably need to pull that out because the airflow over that reentering could throw you off a little bit. And so Steve Livingston went out there, and not Livingston. What Steve
Robinson?
Robertson? Yeah, Robinson. Yes, Steve Robinson went out there, and instead of using the pliers or tweezers he could do it with his finger, and he pulled them out, and then he put them in his pocket. And Terry White says that when this vehicle landed at Kennedy Space Center on July 9th, no, he was out. I'm sorry, he went to Kennedy Space Center. He was out there. He had to fly out to Edwards Air Force Base because the weather was bad here. That Robinson went right up to him after he got out of the spaceship, went right up to Terry White and says, "Here's your gap filler," because Terry was over approving. Everything had to be right, and Terry said he stuck him in his own pocket, and somebody asked about it, and he turned him in to the right NASA people. And this gap filler that Terry had in his hand right there, that is in the Smithsonian, according to that photograph there. So there's a Stay Curious story for you that you heard from Terry White. Terry was on last Wednesday, in fact, 2 Wednesdays ago. So STS-114 returned to flight. This was a big, big deal, okay, because after losing 7 crewmen, the second time that we lost 7 people in space, this was something that we just, whoop, let me reach down there, our names of our people there. I'm going to get Marty one of those big claws to that you get stuff off the big shelf up there. So we thank you all for watching today. Ophelia's watching, and Tom and Mark Usiak are watching. They're going to both be on the Space Coast. Little brother Mark told me that you're coming there, Tommy boy, so that's good. We'll get them both in the studio and talk about photographing the Artemis launch. The rollout is August 18th, and they're going to sit it out there 11 days, and the first launch window is 8:30 in the morning, August 29th. Then there's a couple days where they can't launch, and then they pick it up September 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I think, are launch opportunities. We got William Whiting watching from Monroe, Michigan. Joyce Abbey, thank you for watching, Joyce. And Daniel Lazzarini.
Danielle.
Pardon me?
Danielle.
Oh, Danielle Lazzarini. Danielle, all right. Hi, Danielle. And Carlton Bailey, thank you for letting us share your beautiful launch photography there with the turkey birds in it. The turkey vultures is what they are. And probably my buddy Cliff Watson is watching down there in Sonoma, Australia. Hi, Cliff. He's in the middle of winter time down there, don't forget, as we're in the dog days of summer here in north of our northern hemisphere. So, Marty, thank you for a good Streamlabs program today. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I posted on Facebook some pictures of the carpet going down. Hope you like it. It's a charcoal and black. I was telling Marty, looking at it here in front of me, it kind of looks like data blotches, like you would do zeros and ones to make a picture of something. So, but we're excited tomorrow to have astronaut Dave Bartow with us. So I'm Mark Marquette, and please join us tomorrow to bridge the space between us.